Forget everything you think you know about law and order. We're about to enter a world where logic has been officially suspended, and governments have written rules that defy all explanation. We found a collection of laws so profoundly bizarre they sound like they were invented during a fever dream. From legally requiring happiness to setting altitude limits for witches, these are the glorious, hilarious, and downright dumbest rules you will only find in one country. Let's begin. 1. In the French winemaking town of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, it is illegal for flying saucers to fly over or land in the vineyards. In 1954, at the height of the UFO craze, the mayor issued a formal decree banning aircraft known as flying saucers or flying cigars. It was, in fact, a work of pure marketing genius that brought worldwide attention to the town and its wine. The law was never repealed. This means any alien visitor must check local zoning ordinances first, lest their intergalactic wine tour end with their spaceship being impounded. 2. In several cities in Israel, including Tel Aviv, it is illegal to raise pigs. The ban is a municipal enforcement of the traditional Jewish dietary prohibition against pork. It's a fascinating case where a religious taboo has been written directly into the civil law of a modern city. This has led to a long history of secret, illegal pig farms operating on the outskirts of towns, turning pork production into a form of low-stakes organized crime. 3. In Victoria, Australia, you are not legally allowed to change your own light bulb unless you are a licensed electrician. This law is part of a complex set of electrical safety regulations. Doing any electrical work yourself, including the simple act of replacing a burnt-out bulb in a socket, can technically result in a fine. While rarely enforced, it creates the hilarious scenario of being plunged into darkness and having to decide between breaking the law or paying a professional $100. Is this ultimate government overreach or just a very cautious approach to safety? 4. In Japan, the government has set a legal limit for your waistline. The Metabo law, passed in 2008 to fight obesity, requires companies to measure the waists of all employees between 40 and 74. For men, the limit is 33.5 inches. For women, it's 35.4 inches. If you're over the limit, you're not fined, but you are given mandatory diet guidance, and your employer can face financial penalties. It's a government-mandated health program that is either proactively brilliant or terrifyingly intrusive, depending on your love for cake. 5. In Scotland, it is illegal to be drunk while in charge of a cow. This is not a punchline from a postcard. It's a real provision from the Licensing Act of 1872. The law was created to stop intoxicated farmers from causing chaos on public roads and in marketplaces. It also applies to being drunk while in charge of a horse, a carriage, or, fantastically, a steam engine. It paints a vivid picture of a world where a drunk man and his cow were a recurring public menace. 6. On the beautiful Italian island of Capri, it is illegal to wear excessively noisy footwear. The locals value their peace and quiet so much that they passed an ordinance specifically banning loud shoes, especially wooden clogs. If your sandals make too much of a slapping sound, you could face a fine. It's the ultimate first-world problem, legislated into reality on an island paradise, where even your fashion choices must respect the local acoustics. 7. In Switzerland, flushing your toilet after 10 p.m. is forbidden in many apartment buildings. While this isn't a national decree, it's a common rule in building regulations that carries the weight of one. It's designed to prevent noise from disturbing neighbors, but it creates a nightly gamble where a late-night bathroom trip forces you to choose between being a good citizen and leaving an unpleasant surprise for the morning. It's Swiss efficiency battling basic human biology. 8. In Ohio, it is illegal to get a fish drunk. This state law explicitly forbids giving intoxicating liquor to a fish. This raises so many more questions than it answers. What specific event in Ohio's history made this necessary? Was there an epidemic of boozing base and plastered perch causing problems in the local waterways? It stands as a monument to legislative overcorrection, solving a problem that almost certainly never existed. What's the strangest animal-related law you've ever heard of? 9. In 2002, Greece banned all electronic games nationwide. The law went far beyond gambling, imposing a total blanket ban on everything from arcade machines to handheld consoles. The legislation was so poorly written in its attempt to stop illegal betting that it accidentally outlawed playing Snake on a phone. Tourists were arrested and faced massive fines for playing video games in public. It was a spectacular failure of legislation, a nuclear option used to solve a minor problem. 10. In the nation of Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, it is illegal for witches to fly their broomsticks higher than 150 meters. This incredible rule is reportedly part of the country's Civil Aviation Authority regulations. The law doesn't ban the practice of witchcraft, but it does subject it to altitude restrictions just like a drone. It's a breathtakingly pragmatic approach to the supernatural, implying that witches must file a flight plan or risk a hefty fine for violating commercial airspace. 11. In Canada, it is a crime to fraudulently pretend to practice witchcraft. This is not a relic from the Salem witch trials. It's Section 365 of the Criminal Code. The law doesn't make it illegal to be a witch. Instead, it makes it illegal to deceive someone by claiming you have supernatural powers, such as telling fortunes or finding lost items for a fee. The government isn't saying magic isn't real. It's just saying that if you're going to charge for it, you better deliver the goods. It's a consumer protection law for the occult. 12. In Japan, a woman who is divorcing her husband must legally wait 100 days before she can remarry. A man, however, faces no such waiting period. This law dates back to the 19th century and was originally intended to avoid paternity disputes for a child conceived around the time of the divorce. While the waiting period has been reduced from its original 6 months, this explicitly unequal law remains on the books, a stark legal relic clashing with Japan's modern image. 13. In Venice, Italy, it is illegal to sit down in many public areas, including St. Mark's Square. The city is fighting a desperate war against over-tourism, and it has weaponized its local ordinances. You can't just plop down on the steps of a bridge or the pavement to rest. You can also be fined for feeding the pigeons, walking around shirtless, or riding a bicycle through the main city center. Venice has become a beautiful, living museum where the price of admission is following a list of rules so specific, you're almost guaranteed to break one. 14. In Turkey, using the letter W was, for a long time, an act of political defiance. The letter does not exist in the Turkish alphabet. However, it is used in the Kurdish language. For years, as part of a campaign to suppress Kurdish identity, the state actively prosecuted people for using the letters W, Q, and X in public documents or names. It was a law that weaponized the alphabet itself, turning a simple character into a symbol of forbidden culture and a potential crime against the state. 15. In New Zealand, you cannot legally name your child Lucifer. The country's registrar of births has the authority to reject names deemed too offensive or impractical. Over the years, they have compiled an official list of banned names, which includes titles like Christ, Messiah, King, and Justice. Apparently, enough aspiring parents of the Antichrist tried to register the name Lucifer that the government had to step in and save children from a lifetime of very awkward introductions. 16. In Boston, Massachusetts, a wave of molasses once led to a revolution in American law. In 1919, a massive storage tank burst, sending a 25-foot-high tsunami of sticky syrup through the streets at 35 miles per hour, crushing buildings and killing 21 people. The subsequent legal battle became one of the first and most influential class action lawsuits in United States history. The company tried to blame anarchists, but the court found them liable due to shoddy engineering. This bizarre, tragic flood of sweetener fundamentally changed building codes and corporate liability laws across the entire country forever. 17. In Denmark, you can't just name your child whatever you want. The country has an official list of approximately 7,000 pre-approved baby names. If you want to name your child something that isn't on the list, you must get special permission from both the government and your local church parish. The law is designed to protect children from bizarre or silly names. It's a system where the government essentially acts as your baby's co-parent, with final veto power over your creative choices. Is this sensible protection or the ultimate creativity killer? 18. In the French town of Sarparanx, the mayor issued a decree making it illegal to die within the town limits unless you have already purchased a burial plot in the local cemetery. Frustrated by a court order preventing him from expanding the town's overflowing graveyard, the mayor took matters into his own hands. His official proclamation stated that offenders would be severely punished. It's a masterpiece of passive-aggressive governance, a darkly humorous attempt to solve a problem by simply outlawing its ultimate inevitable consequence. 19. In Washington state, it is officially a felony to harass a Bigfoot. A 1969 county ordinance declared Sasquatch an endangered species and made it illegal to hunt or harm the creature. The law, which refers to Bigfoot as an ape-like creature, was passed to prevent a Sasquatch hunt from getting out of hand. It remains one of the only laws in the world that extends legal protection to a creature whose existence has not even been proven, just in case. 20. In South Korea, there is a law that makes it illegal for a public official to be treated to a meal costing more than 30,000 won, which is about $25. The Anti-Graft Act is an incredibly specific and powerful anti-corruption law. It sets precise monetary limits on gifts, meals, and even condolence payments that public officials, journalists, and private school teachers can accept. It's not just about stopping massive bribes, it's about eliminating the small, subtle favors that can lead to corruption, one legally mandated cheap lunch at a time. 21. In China, it is illegal to be reincarnated without government permission. A 2007 regulation requires Buddhist monks planning to be reborn to file an application with the state. According to critics, this is not about spiritual oversight, but a political tool. The widely held interpretation is that this law was created to give the officially atheist government control over the selection of the next Dalai Lama, creating the most surreal bureaucracy on Earth where one must apply for their next life. 22. In Germany, it is illegal to run out of gas on the Autobahn. The country's legendary highway system has no federally mandated speed limit in many sections, but it comes with an absolute expectation of efficiency and safety. Running out of fuel is not considered an accident. It's considered a preventable human error that creates a dangerous obstruction. If you stop for this reason, you will be hit with a fine. It's a law that perfectly encapsulates the German engineering mindset. Your car is a machine of pure performance, and your poor planning is not an acceptable excuse for failure. 23. In Portugal, it is technically illegal to urinate in the ocean. While this seems like the most unenforceable law ever written, it exists as part of the country's maritime and port regulations. The logistical nightmare of proving such an offense is absolutely staggering. It suggests a world where the Portuguese Coast Guard has a specialized division, equipped with high-tech thermal imaging, dedicated solely to hunting down aquatic offenders. Their motto: "You can run, but you can't hide. Your sudden change in body temperature." 24. In Thailand, insulting the monarchy can land you in prison for decades. The country's lèse-majesté law is one of the strictest in the world, making it a serious crime to defame, insult, or threaten the king, queen, or heir apparent. This law is so broad that it has been used to prosecute people for liking a Facebook post, sharing an article, or even making satirical comments about the king's dog. It turns casual online activity into a high-stakes gamble with your freedom. 25. In Finland, the law gives you the legal right to wander, camp, and forage on almost anyone's private land. This concept, known as every man's right, is a fundamental part of the national culture. As long as you don't cause damage or disturb the owners, you are legally free to walk through forests, swim in lakes, and pick wild berries and mushrooms, regardless of who owns the property. For an American audience accustomed to no trespassing signs and fences, This law is a radical and almost unbelievable vision of public freedom. 26. In the United States, it has been illegal to import authentic Scottish haggis for over 50 years. This isn't a cultural judgment, but a gastronomic one. The key ingredient that gives haggis its traditional character is sheep's lung, which has been banned for human consumption by the Department of Agriculture since 1971. This has created a decades-long culinary Cold War, forcing American producers to create lungless haggis, which any true Scot will tell you is an unforgivable imposter. It's a powerful statement from a government that has looked at a national dish and said, "No, not that part." 27. In Australia, voting in federal and state elections is not just a right, it is a legally mandatory duty. If you are an eligible citizen and you fail to vote, you will be sent a letter from the Electoral Commission demanding a valid reason. If you don't provide one, you will be fined. It's a system built on the idea that civic participation is not optional. Do you think this is a brilliant way to ensure a healthy democracy or a fundamental violation of personal freedom? 28. In Spain, the famous afternoon siesta is not a legally mandated break. In fact, the government has been actively trying to kill it. The traditional workday, with a 2 to 3 hour lunch break, means people often don't finish work until 8 p.m. or later. This is now seen as a major drag on economic productivity and family life. Recent labor reforms have been aimed at standardizing the workday to align with the rest of Europe, turning a cherished cultural stereotype into a modern economic problem to be solved by legislation. 29. In Samoa, it is illegal for a husband to forget his wife's birthday. This turns a common domestic foul into a legally recognized offense. While it's unlikely a special police unit will raid your home for forgetting, if a wife reports the transgression, her husband can be brought in, reprimanded, and potentially fined. It's a brilliant piece of legislation that ensures a happy marriage through the subtle threat of state intervention. 30. In the Philippines, many cities have a strict 10 p.m. karaoke curfew. The country's love for the pastime is legendary, and at times, dangerously intense. This is linked to the widely reported phenomenon of the My Way killings, where violent disputes erupted over poor performances of the Frank Sinatra song. To curb the noise and the associated karaoke rage, local governments stepped in to legally mandate a time when all amateur singing must cease, putting a national passion on a government-enforced bedtime. 31. In Arkansas, it is illegal to mispronounce the state's name. This isn't a local legend, it's a genuine 1881 state law. After 2 U.S. senators argued over the correct pronunciation, the legislature formally declared the only legal way to say it is Arkansas, with a silent final S. The law was passed to settle the matter for all time. While you probably won't be arrested, saying Arkansas within its borders is, technically, a crime against phonetics. 32. In Denmark, a specific traffic law mandates that you must check for children hiding underneath your car before you start the engine. This is not a general suggestion for safety, it's an explicit written rule. The law's existence is both terrifying and hilarious, as it implies that at some point in Danish history, the problem of children napping under vehicles was so widespread that it required a direct legislative solution. It is the ultimate proof that every warning label has a story behind it. 33. In the Philippines, you can be charged with the crime of unjust vexation. This is not a joke. It's a real catch-all criminal offense for any action that unjustly annoys or irritates another person, without any other specific crime being committed. Did someone cut you in line and smirk about it? Unjust vexation. Does your neighbor intentionally practice the trombone badly every morning? Unjust vexation. It is a legal system that has brilliantly, and perhaps dangerously, weaponized pettiness. 34. In Singapore, importing and selling chewing gum has been illegal since 1992. The ban was enacted after vandals used gum to disrupt the country's brand-new subway system. The government didn't just issue fines, they declared war on the entire concept of gum. While a therapeutic exception exists, For most people, the simple act of chewing a piece of gum is a criminal offense. It's a society engineered for perfect cleanliness, one forbidden stick at a time. 35. In Melbourne, Australia, it is illegal to vacuum your house between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. on weekdays. The city's Environmental Protection Agency has strict rules about residential noise. Your vacuum cleaner is officially classified as a source of unreasonable noise pollution during these hours. The war on nocturnal cleanliness extends to weekends, where you can't start your chores until 9 a.m. So if you spill something late at night, you have a legally mandated period to sit and reflect on your mess until the state decides it's an acceptable time to be clean again. 36. In Vermont, a woman must obtain written permission from her husband to wear false teeth. This is not an ancient Roman decree. It's an archaic state law that remains on the books. From an era when male control over a household extended to a woman's dental prosthetics, this rule stands as a stunning monument to absurdity. While completely unenforceable today, it legally enshrines the concept of dental patriarchy, suggesting a time when a husband's signature was the final step in getting a new set of chompers. 37. In Quitman, Georgia, there is a city ordinance that makes it illegal for a chicken to cross the road. This fantastic law doesn't target the chickens themselves. It places the legal responsibility squarely on their owners. The rule was created to force farmers to keep their livestock properly penned and off public highways. Still, it effectively kills one of the oldest jokes in history. Why did the chicken cross the road? In Quitman, it didn't, because its owner would have faced a hefty fine. 38. In Mexico, there is no law against escaping from prison. The country's legal code operates on the fascinating principle that the desire for freedom is a fundamental and irresistible human instinct. Therefore, the act of escaping is not, in itself, a crime. Now, you will almost certainly commit other crimes during your escape: property damage, assault, bribery, and you will be prosecuted for those. But for the pure, simple act of running for it, the law basically shrugs and says, "We get it." 39. In Brazil, it is illegal for any civilian to visit Ilha da Queimada Grande, better known as Snake Island. This isn't a suggestion. It's a federal ban enforced by the Brazilian Navy. The island is home to the golden lancehead pit viper, one of the most venomous snakes on the planet, whose bite can liquefy human flesh. The density is estimated to be as high as 1 snake per square meter. The government's law isn't just to protect people from the snakes. It's also to protect the critically endangered snakes from people. 40. In Oklahoma, it is illegal to make ugly faces at a dog. This law was reportedly enacted to discourage people from provoking animals, but it reads like a rule from a cartoon. Imagine a police officer writing a ticket for 1 count of malicious grimacing at a Pomeranian. It is a law so wonderfully specific and so utterly trivial that it achieves a kind of legislative perfection. So the next time you see a pug, be warned. Your facial expression is a regulated activity. 41. In Wisconsin, it was for a long time illegal for a restaurant to serve margarine instead of butter, unless the customer specifically requested it. This wasn't a health code, it was a declaration of war. As America's Dairyland, the state's powerful dairy lobby ensured that this butter substitute was treated like culinary treason. Any restaurant caught passing off margarine as the real deal faced fines. It was a law designed to protect the honor of the cow, 1 legally mandated pat of butter at a time. 42. In Florida, it is illegal to sing in a public place while wearing a swimsuit. This law creates a bizarre trifecta of illegality. Singing is fine, a public place is fine, a swimsuit is fine. But combine all 3, and you are suddenly a public nuisance. It's a beautifully specific rule that targets a very particular, and apparently very disruptive, form of beachside entertainment. 43. In Alberta, Canada, it is illegal for a business to paint a wooden ladder. This sounds like a rule invented by a minimalist with a vendetta against color, but it's actually a brilliant safety regulation. A coat of paint can hide dangerous defects in the wood, cracks, splits, or knots that could cause a ladder to break under weight. It's one of the few laws on this list that sounds completely insane until you realize it might just save your life. 44. In France, serving unlimited ketchup in most school cafeterias is illegal. The reasoning has nothing to do with health. It's a matter of pure cultural preservation. In 2011, the government severely restricted its use to protect traditional French cuisine from American influence. The only meal it can be served with, by law, is French fries, and even then, in limited amounts. It was a national declaration of war against a bottle of tomato sauce, waged in the nation's lunchrooms. 45. In Trinidad and Tobago, as well as several other Caribbean nations, it is illegal for any non-military personnel to wear camouflage clothing. This is not a quirky fashion suggestion, it's a serious matter of national security. The law is strictly enforced to prevent civilians from impersonating soldiers and to stop criminal gangs from using military patterns to create fear. That trendy jacket you think is a cool fashion statement could be interpreted as a criminal act. 46. In Sweden, you technically need a government permit for spontaneous dancing. If a group of people suddenly starts dancing in a public place that doesn't have a license for it, like a bar or a street corner, it's technically an illegal gathering. While rarely enforced on random citizens, it's a legendary piece of bureaucracy that perfectly captures the idea of organized fun versus a state-sanctioned crackdown on unscheduled joy. 47. In Monaco, it is illegal for its own citizens to gamble at the world-famous Monte Carlo casino. The rule was established by Prince Charles III in the 19th century. His brilliant plan was to use the casino's massive revenues to fund the principality, eliminating the need for his subjects to pay income tax. To protect his own people from losing their fortunes, he simply banned them from playing. It's the ultimate VIP club where the locals aren't on the list. 48. In Alberta, Canada, it is against the law to run a bingo game that lasts longer than 3 hours. The province's gaming regulations are incredibly specific, right down to the timing of your grandmother's favorite pastime. If a bingo session is scheduled to run for more than 3 hours, the establishment must contact the Provincial Gaming Commission for special approval. It's a beautiful example of bureaucracy inserting itself into every corner of life, ensuring that even a game of chance and shouting doesn't get too out of hand. 49. In Connecticut, for a pickle to be legally considered a pickle, it must bounce. This is not folk wisdom. It's a standard enshrined in law following a real case in 1948 where 2 men were arrested for selling pickles unfit for consumption. In the legal battle, the state's Food and Drug Commissioner famously declared that a proper pickle, when dropped from a height of 1 foot, must bounce. This simple test became the legal benchmark for pickle integrity in the state. All right, we have dissected 49 pieces of legislative madness, and there's just one left. But before we get to our grand finale, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most mind-shattering law on today's list goes to Eswatini for regulating the flight altitude of witches. It wins because the law doesn't deny the existence of witches. It just subjects them to the same air traffic control rules as a Cessna. It's the most pragmatic approach to the supernatural we've ever heard. Do you agree? Or did another law earn that dubious honor? Let us know your verdict in the comments. And now, for our final number. 50. In the United Kingdom, it is illegal to handle a salmon in suspicious circumstances. This peculiar rule comes directly from the Salmon Act of 1986, a law designed to combat illegal poaching and fish trafficking. In essence, it means if you're caught lurking in a dark alley with a trench coat full of salmon, the law presumes you obtained them illegally. It effectively created a specific anti-terrorism law for fish, turning every salmon into a potential piece of contraband and every fisherman into a potential suspect in a major aquatic conspiracy. So there you have it. 50 glorious examples of what happens when logic takes a day off and lets insanity write the laws. These rules are a hilarious reminder that human absurdity is universal. Now, we have one final question for you. Which law on this list has absolutely no right to exist and needs to be erased from the books immediately? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into legal chaos, show your support with a like and subscribe so you don't miss what we uncover next.